feel the same way after today, after practice, then whatever, we'll quit. Hey guys, it's me, Kate. So today I wanted to talk about 200-hour yoga teacher training, what to expect, what I went through, just all about it, the experiences, that sort of thing, I guess. So there's a lot, so this might be quite a lengthy video. I wanted to start out with sort of preparing yourself for teacher training, which I was going to classes pretty consistently before we started our training, but I wanted to go over some of the things that I wish that I had done differently before teacher training and some of the things I recommend. So I definitely recommend kind of scouting out yoga studios or taking classes at a bunch of different studios that offer teacher trainings. If you haven't decided on where you're taking yours yet, it's really important to make sure that you love the teaching style, you like the other teachers, they might become your coworkers, you connect with the students, you have conversations with them, because eventually those students might become your students if you're teaching at that studio in the future. So definitely make sure that you're taking a teacher training at a studio that you love and you align with their values. So that's what I did. I would definitely recommend getting all your props way beforehand and sort of practicing with them way before your teacher training and long after. It's super important to know how to use your props so that you can assist with other students in the future, because you'll probably be working with them through your teacher training too, and it's important to know how to get students into postures that they might think that they're not able to access. So knowing how to use your props, knowing how to use the props for poses that might come so easily for you that you don't think somebody else might not be able to access this pose. How can I help somebody else get into this pose with props? I mean, usually you need props to do that. So definitely I recommend practicing with them beforehand, seeing how you can use your props to sort of get integrity in that pose and get the alignment that you want so your body is safe. Specifically, we had a bolster, 2 Mexican blankets, yoga mat, of course, and 2 blocks and a strap. I wish that I would have had more blocks, but 2 is fine. Also, I understand not everybody has enough money to buy a ton of props and 2 bolsters and all that crazy stuff. So check out Amazon, because I got most of my props from Amazon and Hugger Mugger. My studio had a thing with Hugger Mugger, so we got them at a discounted price, which they have great props. Check them out. But if not, Amazon's fine. You can find some dimes, I don't know if I said that right, but you can find some good props on there too. Journaling and meditation, 2 things that I really wish that I had practiced more before teacher training, because you will meditate a lot. You will have thoughts that come up and you will probably get frustrated, or maybe that was just me, but if you practice, the more you practice meditation, the easier it's going to come for you to deal with those thoughts, to sit with those thoughts. So definitely 3 to 5 minutes a day, which is something that's super accessible, I think, for everybody. Since yoga teacher training, I've been meditating a lot more than I did before. And journaling is something I do almost every day now, just writing down my thoughts, what I'm grateful for, writing poems. I love writing poetry, which is something you might have a love-hate relationship with writing, journaling. I know I was not a huge fan of writing since all through college and school. It just felt forced, but with journaling is something that you can get creative with, and no one's telling you what you have to write. So definitely journal your experiences through teacher training. I wish that I had done that more. Write the date so that you can go back and see how you felt on a certain day, or so you can go back and reflect on that a year from now and see how much you've changed and how much you've grown. I can't recommend this enough. Write a letter to yourself, setting your intention for teacher training. and writing why you're doing it, something that you can reflect back on throughout teacher training when you're feeling unmotivated, just kind of like a love letter to yourself about why you deserve this, why you'll make a great teacher. And even if you're not taking it to become a teacher, but more about why you want to discover yourself, something that is yours, that you connect with, you're the one writing it, it's for you, it's your teacher training. So yeah, that's something that I wish that I would have done, and I hope that you do if you're considering teacher training, or if you're already in teacher training halfway through, whatever the case. There's no set time to when you need to do that. I could still do that, I guess. I graduate in March, the 27th of this month. It's exciting. So once you're actually in the teacher training, some of the things that you'll be learning about is the 8 limbs of yoga, the history of yoga, all that good stuff, you know, kind of why yoga is, the Yoga Sutras. If your studio doesn't recommend you get the book, there's plenty you can find on Amazon that are translated versions of the Yoga Sutras. The Wisdom of Yoga was one of the books that's kind of the mental side of yoga, the samskaras, emotional clearing. Highly, highly, highly recommend that book. I'll probably link it below. I think I bought it off Amazon. So The Wisdom of Yoga, great book. And Light on Yoga, all the yoga poses and cues for getting into those poses. That is like the yoga Bible. I love and I live by that book. I'll probably link that below too. I think I got mine off Amazon. It's pretty cheap there. So our teacher training was, like I said, over like 6 to 8 months, and it was kind of intensive weekends. So we'd have 1 to 2 weekends a month where we would come in from around 11 to 7 one day, and then 11 to 5 one day, and then 1 to 7 one day. We'd have about a 30 to an hour lunch break. We'd come in about 15 minutes early to the studio, and we would just kind of talk, chit-chat, catch up with each other since it was over such a long time. And then we would open with 3 Oms or a mantra, just set our intention for the day, our practice, and then we would meditate, or we would do like a little flow kind of warm-up thing. And then we would, I wouldn't want to say it was like a lecture, but our studies were more of an open group sort of thing, so we kind of got to hear everybody's opinion on certain topics, which I loved, how open it was and how collective it was as like a group thing. And we would go over the poses, so every day or every weekend there would be like a certain set. These are the poses we're going over. We would not cram like 30 poses into one day. It was like between 5 to 10, and we would go over the name in Sanskrit, the English name, or I guess like the American style name that we kind of call poses by. Anyways, we would go over aligning into the pose, and we would go around and be assisted, and then we would go around and assist other students, and we would go over how you can use props to modify poses, that sort of thing. That's sort of basic, and I would like to think that every teacher training sort of goes over aligning and how to use props to modify, things like that. So, asanas, physical practice, is like this tiny bit, which was like, this was all that I thought yoga was, and then it was like, no, yoga is everything. The asanas are like right here in the middle of the little line. And I want to say that like 80% was kind of emotional clearing and opening up and talking to the group and journaling, and we'd have little homeworks to kind of figure out ourselves too, and to see our growth and things like that. And I absolutely love that, and I hope that every teacher training sort of brings in, some self-study and incorporates that into their teacher training. If that's important to you, definitely reach out to the teacher that'll be teaching your training and maybe see what the guideline for the course is, or what you'll be studying, and things like that. So now I kind of want to delve into some of the things I personally went through teacher training. So there was a day where I woke up and it had been like about 4 weeks since our last training. We were just coming for a new weekend, and I woke up and I thought, I'm not going, I'm exhausted, I don't think this is for me anymore. I don't even know what came over me. It was just like this cloud of just quit, you know, like it just kept playing over in my head. And I got up and I was like, you know, you've quit so many things in your life, you're not gonna quit this too. You're gonna put your big girl panties on, you're gonna get in your car, you're gonna go, and if you feel the same way after today, after practice, then whatever, we'll quit. And I went, and 2 girls didn't show up that day. No negative on them, just I felt like it was a sign for me that you're not gonna quit too. And I didn't, I stayed, and I can't imagine any other way. I can't imagine if I had just gave up. And that's kind of where that letter to yourself comes in, is I wish that I would have wrote something really positive for me to go back and read when I was feeling like that. So do that for yourself. If you're taking teacher training, don't give up. You put, especially halfway through, you put so much time and effort and kind of heartache when you're healing with yourself and with healing your past. So don't give up. Just know that you're worth it. You're going to be a teacher. It's going to be amazing. You're going to go through things like this now, and I'm sure after teacher training. So just don't give up. Don't give up. You got this. You got this. I'll be your hype man if you need it. If you need it, I'm here. Something that was really, really hard for me through teacher training was starting to become more judgy and just nitpicking teachers the way that I nitpick myself when I'm about to teach. And not just that, it's also the, oh my gosh, like I want to use that in a class when someone's teaching, or I love that, I wish I could be like her. It's human nature, we all do it. I just want to be real and raw and say it, because teacher training changes your perspective. Just like if you learn any sort of trade or you have knowledge on a certain topic, you see things that other people, beginners, things like that don't see. And I think it's really important to sort of clear your mind and set an intention where go back to that beginner mindset and just go experience the class and remind yourself constantly not to overthink it, and try to remember that this is not an opportunity for you to get ideas and judge another teacher on their class. It's not your position. But I mean, it's great if you find things in the class that you like and you want to teach in the future, but just remember that's not your intention for going to take a yoga class. It's to take yoga and to be with yourself and connect the movement with the breath. And I'm still struggling with this because it like 180s you. It makes it harder to take yoga after teacher training. And I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but I just want to be real because that's something I'm dealing with, and I'm not sure that's something everybody deals with, but something to think about. Some of the other things that you might go over through teacher training are the business of yoga, you know, how much you'll get paid at studios, being an independent contractor, the other places you can work at teaching yoga. So the anatomy of yoga, super important. I'm sure this is a part of the curriculum at any 200-hour yoga teacher training. It's a lot, and it's a big commitment. So, and that was my word when I started teacher training, was we all chose like a word and intention for our whole full teacher training and mine was commitment. And that was another big thing when I wanted to quit, was like, ugh, felt like I was just like giving myself a lobotomy, because how am I going to do that to myself? I said I was going to be committed and I was going to quit, and I didn't. So I guess I stuck with my word. But that's another thing, is I guess maybe set your intention for the class too with just one word, one simple word that you can come back to throughout the teacher training. You'll probably end your teacher training with a test or a practicum where you teach 30 minutes to an hour. Ours was 2 30-minute classes and then an hour that we'll be teaching next weekend. And we had guidelines for our 30 minutes, but the last one we won't have any guidelines. It'll be our style, and we have an essay that goes along with the theme for our class, which I'm super excited about. Mine's beginner mindset. So that's something that's really important to me right now in my practice. But teaching yoga, wow. I think I have a lot to say about this, but I'm gonna just try to bullet point it. So don't nitpick yourself. Just don't overthink the nitpicking. Just remember that you're your own biggest critic. You're probably thinking of every single little thing that nobody else is even noticing. I taught a 30-minute class and I was like, oh my gosh, that was horrible. I noticed every little bad thing I did, and then everybody's like, that was great. So yeah, you're going to feel that way. Like I said, you're your own biggest critic, but just know that everybody started somewhere. Everybody felt that way at some point. You're going to make mistakes. Teachers that have been teaching 25 years probably still make mistakes. It's human nature. It happens. And if you're trying to find your voice as a teacher, go test out and try all these different yoga classes. Listen to different teachers. Listen to the way that they talk. You know, if that's your intention, is going to find your voice, set that as your intention at the beginning of the class, and just notice the way that they project their voice, things like that. And I think that really helped me by listening to my teachers and sort of imitating them. And as you go through that, you sort of find your own voice along that. There's no guideline to how to find your voice. But through teacher training, you will find your voice. You'll become more comfortable with teaching, with being confident, and just knowing that you know what you're talking about. You took the training, you become more confident with yourself and with knowing that you know what you're talking about, which is something my teacher even said to me, is you know what you're talking about, so act like it, and speak with that confidence too while you're teaching. And it's so much easier said than done, but through the teacher training, you will find the teacher in yourself. You'll find the words, you'll find the voice. And I hope this video gave you sort of an understanding of what to expect through teacher training. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, you can subscribe below. Thank you guys.